All right, let's talk about the royal elephant in the room. How are Meghan and Harry still ballin' like they hit the lottery? From a bombshell exit from the palace to a mansion in Montecito, private jets, and a security team with a price tag that could fund a small nation, people are raising their eyebrows and asking the real questions. It's not just internet gossip anymore. Tax professionals, financial analysts, and even legal insiders are now side-eyeing the Sussex lifestyle and wondering, where's the money really coming from? This isn't just some royalty, folks. This is a full-blown financial thriller in the making. And depending on where this trail leads, it could blow the lid off one of the biggest celebrity cash machines we've ever seen. My name is Lola. Remember when Harry sat down with Oprah and said they'd been cut off from the royal bank account? The world collectively clutched its pearls. Meghan talked about scrambling to call old contacts, and Harry was supposedly paying for security with money left from Princess Diana. It was the ultimate underdog story. Two royals turned rebels trying to survive in the cold, cruel world. People felt for them. Sympathy turned into support. They became a symbol of modern freedom, until the ink dried on a series of multi-million-dollar deals. Netflix, Spotify, Penguin Random House. It was like hitting a media jackpot overnight. But it also marked the beginning of what some are now calling a carefully crafted financial fairy tale.
Yeah, what has he done with this Netflix series? He's used his mother to sell it. Could there be a more grotesque exploitation or a more hypocritical one?
Here's where it gets spicy. Critics say the Sussexes didn't just leave royalty behind. They rebranded into full-blown celebrities. We're talking red carpets, paparazzi photo ops, Vogue-inspired fashion, branded merch drops, and whispers of skincare lines. Meghan's stepping into influencer territory, while Harry's memoir Spare turned their private drama into public spectacle. The twist? They built this empire on pain, the narrative of being cast out, mistreated, and misunderstood. Their trauma turned into a product. And just like that, they weren't just royals. They became the royal Kardashians, monetizing every headline, every feud, every teardrop. But the question now isn't whether it's working, it's whether it's legal. People aren't just watching out of curiosity anymore. Financial watchdogs are circling. According to insiders, both UK and US regulatory bodies have allegedly started poking around. The concern? How fast and how big their wealth ballooned. When money moves fast across borders into offshore accounts, through shell companies and back again, well, that's when alarms go off. There's even chatter that investigators are reviewing company filings, charity transactions, and appearance fees. The fear is that somewhere between the Netflix specials and brand partnerships, something crossed a line. Not a tabloid line, a legal one. And if that line got blurred, it's not just a PR nightmare. It's a courtroom ticking time bomb. Let's be real. Their lifestyle screams old money, not new hustle. We're talking designer wardrobes, top-tier security, international travel, private jets, and luxury retreats that aren't exactly budget-friendly. While Meghan and Harry have bag deals with Netflix and Spotify, those checks only go so far. Security alone is said to cost millions yearly. So people are asking, does the math even work out? Are these brand deals raking in enough to sustain this celeb-level burn rate? Or is there some undeclared revenue stream flying under the radar? Because the spending doesn't look like it's slowing down, even when the headlines do. Here's the awkward part. Pain sells. And Meghan and Harry? They've made their trauma into marketable content. From Netflix documentaries to tell-all interviews and memoirs, every chapter of their pain seems monetized. Harry's book wasn't just cathartic, it was a bestseller. Meghan's podcast, her interviews, her truth has turned into a brand. But the backlash is growing. Critics argue their entire public image has become a product, one built on grievance, not growth. And when every statement is an emotional trigger, it starts to feel less like honesty and more like strategy. At some point, audiences begin to question if this is still vulnerability or just a well-crafted PR play. Word on the street? Investigators are taking notes, and they're not just watching the interviews. Financial forensic teams are reportedly dissecting income sources, dissecting foundation funds, and questioning whether any tax lines have been crossed. It's all about the paper trail, where the money comes from, how it's reported, and whether their nonprofit and for-profit ventures are playing by the rules. Any overlap could mean major consequences. Think audits, subpoenas, and maybe even courtrooms. It's no longer about gossip, it's about governance. And when royalty mixes with modern-day monetization, the consequences can be massive. Nowadays, every move Meghan and Harry make feels branded. New podcast? Strategic. Fashion collab? Timed perfectly. Public appearances? Always coordinated. Their empire runs like a PR machine designed to keep them trending. But with constant content comes scrutiny. Fans and critics alike are asking, is it still authentic or just carefully curated noise? When every moment is monetized, people start to wonder what's real. The vibe has shifted from refreshing rebels to calculated moguls, and that's where trust starts to crumble, especially when the receipts don't match the image. Here's where things really start to crack. With every new deal or press appearance, more inconsistencies bubble up. Harry's timelines don't always match. Meghan's messages about privacy clash with glossy photo shoots and Hollywood red carpets. Even former supporters are raising eyebrows, asking whether the whole brand is just smoke and mirrors. The narrative they pushed, of being silenced and struggling, now feels shaky next to million-dollar deals and luxury perks. And that's what's got fans turning. Former insiders say trust is eroding fast, not because the public is fickle, but because the story feels rehearsed. Authenticity was their superpower, and now, people are questioning if any of it was real. That doubt is spreading, slowly but loudly. At the end of the day, it's not just about public opinion. It's about legality and accountability. If any financial missteps surface, it won't just be headlines. It'll be legal fallout, courtrooms, depositions, financial statements under scrutiny. And if charitable funds were mixed with personal profits, that's game over. The public is watching. Regulators are watching. Even the royals, silent as they are probably watching too. What started as a fairy tale rebellion could crash into scandal with very real consequences. And the worst part? It didn't have to end like this. If they'd stuck to transparency, focused on clean business, and dropped the victim narrative, this empire might have stood tall. But now, it's all built on a razor's edge. One leak, one audit, one slip, and it could all come tumbling down. You've seen the Instagram-worthy lifestyle. Ocean views, designer furniture, high-end cars, and luxury retreats. But here's the kicker. Maintaining that lifestyle is a marathon, not a one-off sprint. Critics wonder if Meghan and Harry are front-loading their image, burning through cash quickly to keep up appearances. The pressure to always look successful, always stay polished, is a real grind. And when your brand is built on that aesthetic, the stakes get even higher. A single slip-up, one hint of, at first, people couldn't get enough of them. The rebel royals, the emotional interviews, the inside scoop from behind palace walls. It was gripping. But now, there's chatter that even loyal fans are starting to check out. Too many tell-alls, too much content with too little substance. When every update sounds like the last, people start asking, is this still a story or just recycled drama? Brand fatigue is real, and it can hit fast. The media industry thrives on novelty, and Meghan and Harry's. Once, another burning question, where do the charity dollars really go? The Sussexes have foundations and nonprofit branches galore, but where does one end and the other begin? Financial experts are reportedly pouring through disclosures, trying to figure out if public goodwill is being channeled into private profit. That's the kind of narrative that unravels fast if mismanaged. One bad audit, one leaked document, and their credibility could take a hit they can't bounce back from. Now let's talk taxes, because you can't cash those checks without Uncle Sam paying attention. Rumors are swirling that financial institutions are flagging activity that looks complicated. Money moving between entities, assets registered under different names, income streams routed through trusts. All of it might be perfectly legal, or it might not. But once the IRS or HMRC gets involved, it stops being about what looks good and becomes about what's provable. Here's the cold truth. Hollywood loves a comeback, but it hates a liability. And right now, the Sussexes are walking a fine line. Studios, sponsors, and collaborators are starting to get nervous. Rumors of deals being paused, calls not getting returned, and branded partnerships slowing down are gaining steam. Why? Because nobody wants their logo next to a scandal. When your name gets whispered in boardrooms more as a risk than a win, it's a sign the tide's turning. So what happens if the whole thing implodes? Let's say the investigations heat up. Let's say a few dots start connecting. Suddenly, the entire brand teeters. They could lose deals, face legal challenges, or watch public trust vanish overnight. And if their empire relies on constant buzz and support, what's left when that fades? That's the gamble with turning your personal life into a business. When people stop buying, the brand stops breathing. This is the million-dollar question. Can Meghan and Harry's media empire survive all this pressure? The constant attention, the growing doubts, the financial investigations. It's a pressure cooker, and not everyone survives that kind of heat. What comes next could make or break everything they've built. If they navigate it right, they could rebound and reframe the story. But if they stumble, or worse, get caught up in legal trouble, it could all unravel fast. Fame is fickle. Public trust is fragile. One thing that hasn't escaped the public eye is how all of this affects their children. Archie and Lilibet have grown up largely out of the spotlight so far. But as their parents stay in the headlines, questions are swirling. Will the kids eventually become part of the brand? Are Meghan and Harry planning a family-centered image shift, like the modern-day royals they once criticized? Some say yes. Others believe the couple is keeping them protected intentionally. Depending on who you ask, Meghan and Harry's every move is either brilliant strategy or complete chaos. There's no doubt they've disrupted royal tradition. But have they replaced it with something sustainable? Or are they just making it up as they go? They've launched a ton of projects, from documentaries to memoirs to wellness ventures, but not all of them stick. Some quietly vanish, others flop. That inconsistency raises questions. Are they chasing too many trends? Even if Meghan and Harry dodge legal trouble, they're still on trial in the court of public opinion. And that's where things get even trickier. Public trust can't be bought. It's built over time through consistent actions and transparency. If fans begin to feel duped, or if their struggles start to feel like branding, support can disappear overnight. That's the real danger. Not just what's legal or illegal, but what feels real. In today's media landscape, authenticity is currency. Reinvention isn't new for Meghan and Harry. They've done it before, from royalty to rebels, then from underdogs to media moguls. But now, they may need to pull off another pivot. The current narrative is wearing thin, and public skepticism is rising. So the question is, what's the next chapter? Will they lean into philanthropy, go quiet for a while, or double down on visibility? Reinvention is tricky. It needs purpose, clarity, and a fresh value proposition. It can't just be reactive. No matter where the saga goes, there are lessons for anyone watching. Fame, money, and influence don't come without cost. Meghan and Harry had a global audience, a sympathetic story, and a chance to create a powerful platform. But somewhere along the way, the narrative got cloudy. Were they victims or brand builders? Rebels or opportunists? Maybe a bit of both. But in the age of receipts and real-time accountability, even a compelling origin story can't save you if the sequel doesn't hold up. One thing that's been notably absent from this whirlwind saga is any formal intervention from the royal family. Despite being dragged in headlines and referenced in interviews, Buckingham Palace has stuck to its classic strategy: never complain, never explain. But as the situation with Meghan and Harry grows more complex, some wonder, will the firm eventually step in? There are quiet rumors floating around that behind palace doors, advisors are closely monitoring everything. With the spotlight hotter than ever and investigations creeping closer, Meghan and Harry's next move could define their legacy. Will they double down and fight back? Or quietly retreat and restructure? Whatever they choose, one thing is clear: the fairy tale is over. This is the real world now, with real consequences, and no amount of curated content can hide the truth forever. Whether they rise from this storm or get swept away by it, the world will be watching. And talking. Always talking.